My first experience in Virginia was, it was traumatic. Coming from New Jersey where they had parole and the system basically just filters you in and out real quick in New Jersey, even though it might have changed now. But here in Virginia, it's so oppressive.
And I have the experience, I have the certificates, I have the degrees, just like anybody else. But because I have that label, ex-felon, people, they will give me what they want me to have.
I knew I wasn't coming back to prison. I just knew it. Even when I had obstacles, when I did get out, there was no way I was going back. I can't even imagine, and alone using drugs again.
It was up to me to make the decision to say, okay, I'm not going back. I'm not going back through them revolving doors.
Well, my name is Christopher Rashad Green. I'm 58 years old. I was born in Newark, New Jersey. This is July, and I'm going into my sophomore year. And from July of that same year until November of that year, come November, I was shooting heroin in my arm. I was hanging on the streets. And even when I say it now, I still don't know how that happened. I know how it happened, but it's kind of inconceivable to think that I would go from an honor roll student to hanging on the streets in a incorrigible juvenile. The last time I was arrested, I have to say it was May 20th, 2010, 11 o'clock in the morning. The officer's name was Officer Adamski and Officer Cook. I'll never forget it. And I got arrested for a burglary charge. So when they apprehended me and they handcuffed me, I hate this, I don't even know how to relay this, but it was just something that clicked in my mind. And I just knew I was done. I was tired, that was it. I just knew at that moment. By that Monday when I was in the Richmond City Jail and I got put on the tier and got settled in, it really kicked in then. And I knew from that point that I was never coming back to prison.
In the beginning, I grew up with my great aunt and my great uncle. I just loved it. But during that time, there was also a cousin in the household that was very nasty. She was very nasty and hateful. And she did terrible things to me, and I couldn't understand why. Then I went from a loving, caring house, even though my cousin was there, to a house where there was a man there that was a pedophile, and a molester, or whatever you want to call him. And he would creep into my bedroom at night. I wanted these little stuffed, they weren't stuffed animals, they were little fuzzy little animals that had little stickers on the bottom of their feet that you could stick on stuff. And I wanted them, but I wanted to keep my money too. So I was thinking to myself, how can I keep my money and get these stickers too? So I stuck them down in my pants. And then something told me, LaVaughn, you don't want to do that. So I put them back. But by the time when I got to the register, evidently the store manager had saw me and came and told my aunt at the cash register. I had shame at the time, but it was like, oh well. No, I did what I did, so. And that was my attitude from then on.
Virginia has one of the harshest criminal justice systems in the country, and our country has one of the harshest criminal justice systems in the world. Many of the policies that we have in place now were implemented by Governor George Allen as part of his Tough on Crime gubernatorial campaign. He campaigned on a platform that said Virginia was literally, to use his words, locking people up and throwing away the key. He followed his campaign very closely. When he came to power, he implemented some of the toughest reforms that we have seen in the country. He modeled them after the '94 crime bill implemented by then President Clinton.
Just can't continue to let these violent criminals out on our streets to wreak havoc. We have the problem in Virginia that we have entirely too lenient a parole system. I want to abolish parole altogether. We have jury sentencing.
That's the power of the people. No, son. We don't get accepted yet. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy.
So many states have a system of what we often call felony voter disenfranchisement, which disallows individuals with felony level convictions from entering the voting booth and participating in the electoral process. So in the state of Virginia, anyone with a felony on their record when they re-enter society faces a wait period and a period of reintegration before they can actually vote again.
For repeat offenders, when you build up these court fines over a period of time, or you have restitution, how is somebody supposed to, it's almost like a poll tax. You have to pay to get your rights back. You done did the time. Now you have to pay all this money back before you even start the process. That's the thing about the history of Virginia is I've known about it, and Virginia has always been one of those oppressive states. I don't know if you knew they were the first ones to institute slavery and the last ones to abolish it. Because this structural racism and this institutional racism is so ingrained in Virginia. I know this now.
The rights that we have right now, they're not the best rights. That's why we put people in office to help us get those rights to make it equal. But even though the rights are not there, even though people are trying to make it better, because that's really where we came from. I'm African American, black, whatever you want to call me. Back in the 60s, 50s, where were we?
What we know from research now is that incarceration alone does not prevent crime. It doesn't change people. We've always had programs, I started back at the state penitentiary, which was in Richmond, and was a counselor there, and I ran programs, and that was back in the late 70s, early 80s. But it wasn't a coordinated, and as you said, it wasn't a philosophical approach. And I think it's probably just, you see it in other states too, but not as strong as in Virginia because of our director and our leader just really has a belief, and what the research shows is the best way to protect the public. I think if someone is a law-abiding person, they think, well, this person is just going to, put them incarcerated, and that'll teach them a lesson, they'll get out and they won't commit crime. But really people have so many needs that the research has shown that we need to help people prepare.
Governor Terry McAuliffe signed a sweeping order today to restore voting rights to more than 200,000 convicted felons after their release from prison.
Now developing news affecting voters across the Commonwealth. The Virginia Supreme Court struck down Governor Terry McAuliffe's sweeping voting rights restoration order today.
But the governor says he's fighting back, determined to make sure felons in the state will still get the chance to vote.
For most of us, what defines our lives is how we learn from those mistakes and how we move forward. I believe that should apply to everyone, even to men and women who have committed a crime. Over the past 4 years, we have worked, often hand in hand with the General Assembly, to reshape our criminal justice system to reflect the principle that no person is beyond redemption or unworthy of a second chance.
My rights were restored. right after Trump was elected, because I kept thinking, I want to vote, I want to vote, I want to, because all this many years, I have never thought about voting.
It wouldn't, if I didn't have my rights right now, I would still feel complete, but it's something I know I'm entitled to. Your vote is like political currency, which you can go in front of anybody and it's like, look, I am a voter, you have to listen to me.
And I said, the next time that there's an election, I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote because I know the power behind voting. I know the power behind voting.
I think as a state, economically and socially and morally, we cannot sustain the system that we have now.
When I came out, I lived off of $560 a month. $560 a month.
So I'm back. I feel I'm all the way back. But my past is still my past.
There've been times I have been in college. I have wasted those opportunities. I went back. It was my choices. It was not society's choices. It was not society said, you can't do this. They opened up the door and they said, this is how you do it. It was up to me to make the decision to say, okay, I'm not going back. I'm not going back through them revolving doors. Okay, if I have to work for $7.25 an hour, let me start here because I know I can build myself up to where I want to be.
I call it a journey of redemption and hope.